I've been on a bit of a rant about the Southern District of New York. This is this corrupt gang of prosecutors that views their mission not as one of neutrally administering the law or justice. This is a furthest thought from their mind, but how to go after political opponents. Now, I was in their sights a while ago, but their latest targets have been Bannon and Trump. They're trying to go after Trump on tax reasons, and they don't really know what he's done, but they feel like there's something there. We should just subpoena everything and then find a crime that we can pin on him. This is their modus operandi. And of course, with Bannon, their idea is, even though he's been pardoned, can we find a way to get him anyway? Because they know that they've got cooperative judges in New York, many of them Clinton appointees, Obama appointees. In other words, guys who are sort of in on it. And their idea is, how about if we carry the process, kind of us pals around here, because we all know who our joint enemies are. This is how they operate. You get a little bit of a window into their mentality, because some of these characters, when you meet them up close, when you look at them up close, they're not quite what you expect. You might expect some Conan the Barbarian leftist type, a kind of alpha male. But no, a lot of these guys are sort of namby-pamby beta types. They've got little beards that they scratch. They kind of move their head, a little effeminate, but they're vicious. They don't lack any viciousness. And of course, they're deeply deceitful. Like they have the beta vices. They don't rely on overwhelming force. They rely on low cunning and deceit. Now, here's my prosecutor, who's no longer with the SDNY. That's a story I'm coming to in a moment. But he's on television talking about my case and describing what to him was evidently no big deal. Listen.
Now, the president says he pardoned D'Souza because he was treated, quote, very unfairly. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was the U.S. attorney at the time. There are career prosecutors, career agents who brought this garden variety case in connection with using straw donors illegally to contribute to a political campaign. It's not the crime of the century. We had about 1,000 more important cases that we prosecuted at the time. But Dinesh D'Souza was intentionally committed a crime, which is proven beyond all doubt. He admitted his guilt in a guilty plea before the court. He said he regretted the action. His lawyer, by the way, who's no slouch, Ben Brathman, who has a lot on his plate these days, and is about as aggressive a lawyer as there is, literally said in court, "We have no defense, Your Honor." So the questions about whether or not he was treated unfairly was litigated in the court. The judge, very well respected, Judge Berman, listened to the arguments about that, said it was all hat, no cattle. There was no evidence of that whatsoever. It's a kind of, look, we prosecuted more people for that precise crime who are Democrats than Republicans.
This guy kills me. He's amusing on all fronts. First of all, this solemn assurance that, we go after the Democrats too. Well, you didn't go after Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell violated, by her own admission, the campaign finance law on 5 separate occasions, giving to 5 different candidates. And we know that she deliberately tried to circumvent the law because she used 4 different spellings of her name and 5 different addresses. So she didn't want computers to collate and see that this was the same person, Rosie O'Donnell, making all these contributions. Any prosecution from the Southern District of New York? Of course not. In fact, no prosecution in any of the 5 different areas that Rosie contributed the money. Here's an Indian guy. I don't know why, we Indians seem to specialize in this campaign finance violations area, but there's an Indian guy named Sant Chatwal in New York who gave more than $180,000 to Hillary Clinton and other Democratic candidates. So I gave $20,000, this guy gave $180,000. He was the founder of Indian Americans for Hillary. He had a clear political motive. He wanted something in return for this money. He was also corrupt. He said publicly, he goes, that's the only way to deal with politicians, quote, to buy them. He was also convicted of witness tampering. The FBI recorded him trying to get witnesses to lie in court. He goes, never ever admit to anything. Cash has no proof. This is Chatwal. Now, he is hauled before New York judges in New York. What does he get? A fine, community service, 3 years probation, no prison time, no confinement. So this is the point. Where's the equity? There is none. Now, my favorite phrase from Preet Bharara, this is a garden variety case. So this is part of their shtick. It's we didn't even really sweat this one. This was a garden variety case. Well, Preet Bharara, if this was a garden variety case, it led to your garden variety firing and my garden variety presidential pardon. How garden variety is that? at the end of this process, I get all my rights back. And hey, you know, the old saying, karma is kind of a bitch. What I mean by that is that I get my rights back. My profile is bigger than ever. I go on with my career. I now have a cool podcast. What are you doing? Well, what you're doing now, you used to have this big office, all these prosecutors at your beck and call. You were a really big man on campus. Now you're sitting in a small, dark room at New York University. You know, one student comes in to talk to you. What about the transgender law? You're like, can I get back to my, chicken tikka masala? You teach one course. You're tubining all day. I mean, the point is, it reminds me of the line from Evita, don't look down. There's a long, long way to fall. And the truth of the matter is, our situations have become reversed. You tried to go after me. You kind of got me. You thought you got me, but you only kind of nicked me. And I survived, and I came out on top. And there you are in that little dank cubicle in NYU thinking, what happened? What happened? Well, what happened is you took on this garden variety case that came back to bite you in the butt.